Well, we're down here at the Ark Encounter attraction, and associated with this attraction, which is the life-size Noah's Ark, we have a zoo and a petting zoo, and our Director of Live Collections, Matt. Matt, we're here in the kangaroo enclosure, actually. Unique animals. Of course, they come from the best country in the whole world, as you know, from Australia.
Africa.
But we have a number of unique animals here, and we'll show people one of them here in a moment. But first of all, the zoo and the petting zoo are very popular here at the Ark and at the Creation Museum too, but we're going to be expanding the zoo here at the Ark. Tell us a little bit about that.
Currently we have about 88 animals and 19 different kinds.
Just list off some of the animals we already have.
So right now we have ostrich, we have llamas, alpacas, we have Tibetan yaks. We do have a large petting area with 23 different goats in it, and we have the kangaroos, of course, which are in the current space, but they're going to move up to the expansion, along with the emus that we have back here as well. And we're going to look to expand. Actually, we're going to probably at least double the size of the zoo with the expansion that we're doing. In that expansion, we're going to put in several new kinds. We're going to have collared peccaries, where we're going to bring in ring-tailed lemurs.
So when people think of Noah's Ark, they do think of animals, don't they?
Absolutely.
And so not only is it great to have the sculpted animals inside the Ark, but it's great to have the living animals as well.
And one of the really cool things we're going to do is these guys that we have in the original part of the zoo, they're actually going to move up to the expansion, and we're going to have a walkabout with those guys and the emus.
Oh, so people can walk through the pens?
Yeah, so the people actually be able to walk through, kind of meander around where the kangaroos.
Just like we do in Australia.
Just like you do in Australia,
I know at
right.
the animal parks in Australia, I love to go and walk through the pens, and the kangaroos are there and the emus are there, and so we're going to have that here as well.
Yeah.
And I notice you use the word kinds.
Correct.
Now, there's a reason why we use that word, isn't there?
Absolutely. So what we like to do here at the Ararat Ridge Zoo is we don't talk so much about the definition of evolution. What we talk about is natural selection, adaptation, which leads to speciation, or changes within that kind.
Which has nothing to do with evolution.
Exactly.
And we're going to help people understand how Noah could fit all the land animal kinds on the Ark, because that's one of the most asked questions that I've received over 40 years in this ministry. And of course you have secularists saying he couldn't fit all the different species on board. That's why we want to show them not only in the static exhibits inside the Ark, but also in the living collections, that you can have great variation within a kind. Noah didn't need near the number of animals on the Ark as we think. He just needed representatives of each land animal kind. So for instance, with the kangaroo kind,
Yes.
what's the biggest member of the kangaroo kind?
The red and gray kangaroos are the largest of the Marsupialidae family.
And of course, then we have wallabies, which are part of the kangaroo kind. Actually, at the Creation Museum, we have the Bennett's wallaby.
Yep.
There, and that's part
And
of the kangaroo
koalas would
kind.
be a part of that as well.
Right, koalas are marsupial. So there's different marsupial kinds, and
Correct.
within each kind, there's great variation.
Right.
Like within the kangaroo kind, there's lots of different species. So in the new exhibit, there'll be a walk through the kangaroo enclosure. So they'll be, walking around close to the kangaroos?
Right. Yeah, so it'll be pretty much up to the kangaroos. The people will stay on a path, and the kangaroos can meander across that path, through the path, and around the exhibit.
Okay, so they might come up to people like this?
So yeah, so you'll get really close as opposed to like what you've got here.
Right.
So you'll be really close with them. It'll be a really intimate type exhibit.
And we're going to have an animal actor stage too. What's going to happen on that?
Yeah, so on the stage, we're going to have an area where we can bring out animals for ambassador animals that we can display and talk to the guests about.
But we use them for teaching programs, right?
Yep, yep. And so the animal actor stage, they will be used on there as well.
So what sort of animals do we have for that?
For that, we have an armadillo, which I will show you here shortly.
Okay.
And then we also have a porcupine. We have African crested porcupine. We have 7 different kinds of reptiles, ranging from white-throated monitors to red tegus to little leopard geckos.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, and we have the blue-tongued skink, which is also from
Australia. Yeah, you've got some Australian animals here, which is absolutely fantastic. And so when we have the animal actor stage operating, people will be able to go in there, sit down, and they'll do special programs from a creationist Christian perspective about these animals.
Exactly.
So when people come to the Ark Encounter, their ticket not only gets them into the 3 massive floors of exhibits inside the Ark, but also the villages that are outside the Ark, which are on the east and west side at the front of the Ark, and also the zoo and the petting zoo. So it's all included.
Absolutely. Yep. And that is one of the misunderstandings, that when you purchased a ticket here to get into the Ark Encounter, that gets you the Ararat Ridge Zoo, the petting area as well. The only things really you have to purchase down at the petting area are the rides.
And not only that, but during the day, you actually have a special place on the second deck. it's near the door, and you take animals up there and give some animal programs during the day too.
Exactly, yeah, glad you brought that up. So right on the second deck of the Ark, where the animals would have entered into the ship via God's calling, we do have our one live animal exhibit on the Ark, and those animals rotate as well. So we take up different animals every day, and then we display them there, meet with the guests, and talk about the different kinds and the relationships, the adaptations, and the natural selection features that go into all these animals, because God is incredibly creative, and that's one of the best places to demonstrate and share God's abilities and creativity.
We want to expand the zoo so that people can see some of the different variations we see within the kinds of the land animals that God created, give them good teaching, and people just love to see the creatures that God created anyway.
Exactly, and there's nothing like when you see, it doesn't matter if you're a kid or if you're an adult, you see their face when they get up close and personal and see these animals. The impact that it makes, and it resonates with them for a long time.
Yeah, and they remember that, and they love those experiences. How about we go meet the camels?
All right, let's do that.
Okay. So Matt, we're here with the camels.
Absolutely.
These are very friendly camels, aren't they?
Yeah, these guys are great.
And I know, I look at the number of rides every day, and apparently not just kids, but adults like to ride them too.
Oh yeah, we had our oldest guest ride the camel, and she was, I think, 98 years old. It was
is that right?
fantastic, yeah. So we get all ages that want to ride these guys. They're such a draw.
Now we also have what? Llamas, alpacas?
Yes, yeah. So we also have llamas and alpacas here.
And many people don't realize llamas, alpacas, and the camels, whether the two-hump camel or the one-hump camel, are all the same kind, correct? They're greedy.
They are greedy. Yep, correct. So these guys,
You already had enough.
the llamas, camels, alpacas, guanacos, vicuñas, they're all in the same kind.
So again, Noah would only need 2 of those on board the Ark.
Absolutely.
So here at the Ark Encounter, people can come and have fun. They ride the camels, they can see the alpacas and the llamas, they learn about kinds, and so it's just a fun family place to be, a great Christian-themed attraction.
So this is our hairy armadillo.
You're not going to feed him to the camels, are you?
No. They're herbivores.
Oh, okay.
Now this guy is an insectivore. His name is Esau.
Esau.
So I have some insects
I've noticed
here.
that the names of all the animals here, you seem to find those names in the Bible.
Yeah, every zoo animal has a biblical related name.
Oh, that's fantastic.
In the case of Esau here, he has a red, hairy armadillo, which is similar to Esau in the Bible, which was a red and very hairy man.
I like that. That's great. Very creative. So what are you feeding him?
So right now he's getting super worms and wax worms.
Oh.
These are some of his absolute favorite.
And I've already had breakfast.
Well, I've got plenty for you if you
Oh,
want
it's okay.
And he also gets cat food and baby food, believe it or not.
And so what can we say about the armadillo? I've seen him up on the second deck when you've had him up there.
Yeah.
He runs faster than I can.
He's super quick. Yeah, and armadillos are from the Chlamyphoridae family. And this guy in particular has 18 different bands on his back, and he does ball up for defense. This is one of the coolest animals to show God's creativity as the kinds that he's developed, because this guy has armor, he's got some claws for digging, his teeth and everything are specialized for eating insects. And if I set him on the ground outside of this crate, he burrows like a rototiller.
Is that right?
He's gone in seconds.
Is that right? So you can't let him out?
Exactly. Here, actually hold this, I'll show you.
Okay.
So you can see all those paws he's got there. He can dig down on the ground in seconds. I mean, he is really well adapted for burrowing.
So God designed him to be able to burrow.
Exactly.
And that's what he does. He's designed to do what he does do, and what he does do well, doesn't he?
He does it.
Don't you think? I think he does. Don't you? I do.
I think he really does.
Hope you do.
Yeah,
I do too.
well.
Yeah.
And one thing people don't realize is their scutes, their armor, is actually flexible too.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Look at that. So God designed him in a very unique way.
He did, and it is one of the cool animals that we like to use to demonstrate his ingenuity.
So Matt, where did you work before you came here to the zoo, Ararat Ridge Zoo at Ark Encounter?
So before I arrived here at AIG, I worked for the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium for 24 years.
Okay.
With Jack Hanna.
That's a very well-known zoo, and Jack Hanna's a very well-known person too, isn't he?
Exactly.
Okay, so when you come to the Ark Encounter, make sure you come down to the zoo, Ararat Ridge Zoo, to the petting zoo, and also be on the second deck. Usually, what sort of time frame do you have the live animals up on the second deck of the Ark?
So from 10 to 5 every day, we'll exhibit the animals on the second deck, except for Sundays, which will be noon to 5.
Now, we're also hoping that the zoo expansion, which is basically doubling the size of the zoo, adding all these new animals, more teaching on created kinds, we're hoping that that'll all be ready for the vacation time for 2018.
That's what we're shooting for.
So shooting for spring 2018, certainly, towards the end of spring, ready for from Memorial Day onwards, when we get our biggest numbers here.
Right.
That's what we're shooting for next year for the new zoo.
Right.